He's the teen accused in the Buffalo supermarket massacre in full hazmat gear. He was so terrified of catching COVID, he wore the protective gear when he went to class at his community college. Now Peyton Gentrin's family appear to be building a COVID defense, claiming he became paranoid and isolated during the lockdown. He got into some nasty stuff. He's smart enough to get into dangerous stuff online, which maybe the average person wouldn't know how to get into. But the so-called COVID defense is undermined by Gentrin's own chilling words posted on social media. His meticulous step-by-step planning started 3 years ago, before COVID even hit. He posted his sick plot on the messaging platform Discord, which is controversial because it is not monitored. Gendron says he considered targeting this shopping mall in Rochester, New York, and this one in the nearby town of Greece, as well as supermarkets in Hempstead, Long Island. He choreographed every detail. I've been planning this attack for what seems like years now. Every day that goes by, it feels less like a joke and more real, he posted. When he finally settled on the top supermarket in Buffalo, he decorated his AR-15 assault rifle with the names of other mass killers who are known white supremacists. The video live stream of the attack shows the manager of the supermarket, Christopher Braden, getting shot in the leg. As he crawls away, the gunman approaches him, takes aim, is about to open fire, but then backs away, spares the manager's life, and even says sorry. Why? Because the manager is white. The gunman's other victims were black. We're hearing other harrowing accounts from survivors. 20-year-old cashier Yanya Brown McReynolds hid behind a checkout station.
He walked past me twice. I was curled up in a ball at 6, register 6. I did not move. He walked past me. He didn't realize that I was there. I'm glad that he didn't.
Yanya's mother also works at the supermarket. She says that security guard Aaron Salter confronted Gendron, winning others enough time to find cover.
That was what triggered me to run when I saw him engaging the shooter.
President Biden and the First Lady visited Buffalo today to meet with bereaved families.
The ideology of white supremacy has no place in America. None.
They walked hand in hand to place flowers on a makeshift memorial beneath a tree.
The suspect has pled not guilty to a single charge of first-degree murder. More charges are to come.
Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. There we have another proof that white supremacy reigns supreme with Donald Trump's help. It's always been there, but I'll show another video of this incident. The young people are getting this information from a source that we don't know where it comes from. The pain of all this is that innocent people are being killed. Our best and finest. You hear stories about the people that were killed, about the 86-year-old woman coming from a nursing home where she took care of her husband. And I mean, the breeding of way black women take care of us. And the story of this woman just stopping off at the supermarket to get something to eat that night. Another man coming and getting a birthday cake for his 3-year-old son. These are stories that, and I cherish that we had a president that could tell these stories with tears in his eyes, who had the same trauma of losing his wife and child at 29 in a car accident. So President had a epiphany, what would you call that?
Epiphany? An epiphany?
Epiphany? It was gracious, and this is sort of feeling person that we need running the White House. Of course, he doesn't move as quickly as, or he's not as aggressive as we need him to be, but he's coming around. I mean, this is painful to all of us. So, welcome back home.
Thank
Sister
you.
Kenya.
Thank you, Brother Christ.
Yeah, welcome
I've missed
back.
you. Wow, it's been 2 years plus 6 months, I'm saying.
What?
It's been, the last time I was here was 2019 in December.
2019. It's been a while.
Yeah, I thought that everybody got, didn't get COVID, but just decided COVID was taking over the world. So
Well,
they got quiet. So I said, oh, it's okay.
It's been
the
a
time will
dramatic
come.
2 years.
It has been. It has been for all of us. And that's why this incident, on top of everything else we're feeling, expresses the need for, people are saying dialogue, but guns do not fire themselves. And we've got to take on these gun companies, which are the greatest lobbyists of all lobbyists for the Republican and independent and anybody that wants money, that will stand up in a room. Being that I'm from South Carolina and living in Harlem, one of the things that South Carolina is filled with is lobbyists. There are parts of South Carolina where homes South Carolina, where homes are larger than anything in Beverly Hills, because the lobbyists are there. And that is why the Republicans tend to go there to get their first amount of funding and get clear on the lobbyists, which agendas do they need to promote. It is where Trump actually went to get his first $80 million. But it has been for centuries. It is a controlled red state by some of the wealthiest groups of Republicans in our society. And so, and of course, James Clyburn is a representative there and has been for over several decades. Biden had to go to him to ensure that the black vote was going to count.
Right.
And of course it counts. The problem in all of this is that we have to start taking a look at who's going in offices with black robes, white robes, etc. Because folks are cloaking themselves in an agenda that says, oh, it's a shame, but you're supporting gun control.
Right.
Why are we having assault rifles in our home? Who are we planning to assault is the real question. Who are we? Why do I need an AK-47 in my home? I mean, if guys come in there to get my television and don't get it, I've got to have a sawed-off shot machine gun to say don't take it? I don't know what we're doing when we say make more guns and make sure people are armed with them, except that we're saying we're an insane society and let's war against each other, and as soon as we get a civil war started here, we'll be real
Well, that's
on time.
what the race wars.
That's what the white supremacists are dying to get started, but it's basically an annihilation of yourself.
Well,
because
I
it's
thought
your children.
Dylan Roof was a classic example.
Absolutely.
But that was the last time that we've seen this sort of planned genocide. This kid was only 18.
And he was in South Carolina, in Charleston. That was also in South Carolina. Dylan was, and didn't want...
Dylan was 23, though.
Right, and walked into the church, remember that, right?
Right.
And I, some of this is frightening enough to imagine, and people are speaking like this online, about chips being put in the head, or these kids being downloaded and deprived of food and water and shelter, and put in some sort of a concentration camp, and actually are being breeded, because Dylan was almost a robot in his behavior. And let's be reminded that when he was found in North Carolina, just the other state up, the officers took him to Burger King to feed him a burger before they put his handcuffs on. So I was trying to figure out, in North Carolina, what were you saying? Oh, we're so sorry that you are hungry. Did you kill these people because you're hungry? Now, if you were getting him a burger, that's your business. But take him someplace where we don't see it. They did this publicly. And that's why I'm saying we have a lot of law, and I know that I haven't seen Graham in a while, but I know you were in law enforcement, but I think we've got a lot of law enforcement individuals who have infiltrated, obviously, with their white racist concepts, who are wearing strapped, armed 9mm that can take us out at any time, and that may be the reason they're entering the force. But their children are becoming weapons of mass destruction.
We always knew the cops were Klansmen, and especially in the South. Isn't that true, Graham?
Well, Cadiato Diallo texted me the other day to write an article or a position paper for our foundation. And my mind went back to two incidents I had. I've been there. And I'm not talking as a police officer. I've been shot at by white people more than once.
In Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn.
Wow.
Well, the Klans.
1968, a white boy shot me in the head with a 22.
68?
With a 22. Shot me in the left side of my head. The angle was just right that the bullet did not go through. And I turned, and he was maybe 50 feet from me. And my brother and I, we ran to him. He was so shocked. He ran into his house. We tried to break the door down to get to him. Another day, I'm on Euclid Avenue and Dumont, coming from a friend's house. I'm going to the next block. My brother and I lived on Pine Street. We were the only black guys that walked up and down Pine Street. The guys from the projects, they said, you don't walk on Pine Street. We walk Pine Street. And I'm at Euclid and Dumont. It's night, and as I come up to the curb, I see like 4 or 5 white guys, and I notice one guy has a Remington rifle. I'm like, Remington. I had a carbine, you know, so I'm up on it. I was about 19 then. A two-way street. I look right, I look left, and when I look left, this guy is leveled off, taking aim on me.
Oh, my.
Now, he fired the first shot as I turned my head, and the first bullet traced past my ear. He fired about 5 or more shots as I hurdled the fence and went around the building. I called the police in the 75th precinct.
75th?
Yeah. They came the next day.
The next day.
But my sister and brother were out. My sister worked for the city. She was coming home in the evening. I got my carbine, and I headed to Euclid Avenue subway station to wait for my sister, and I waited for my brother, and I escorted them home to make sure that nothing happened to them. The cops came to my door the next day on a Saturday morning, and I had to tell them what to do and where to go. You show up the next morning. We need to understand where we are and who these people are. And you know, I don't think about that incident.
And this was 1968
68,
in New York.
1968 in Brooklyn. Not Mississippi, not Georgia, Brooklyn, East New York. I grew up in East New York. East New York was a white community when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
You know? Now, I want to give you a quote from Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln. I just want to read this and let it get into you. Benjamin Franklin, and I quote, because everybody's saying this is not who we are. Please. Benjamin Franklin. Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America, where we have so fair an opportunity, excluding all blacks and tawnies, those are mixed breed blacks, or increasing the lovely white and red? Thomas Jefferson. I advance it, therefore, as a suspicion only, that the blacks, whether originally a distinct race or made distinct by time and circumstance, are inferior to the whites in the endowment of both body and mind. Abraham Lincoln, who freed nobody, and you need to read the Emancipation Proclamation. If you read it, you'll know he never freed a slave. There is a physical difference between the whites and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together. While they do remain together, there must be the position of superior and inferior. And I, as much as any man, am in favor of having the superior position assigned to the white race. Understand where you are
Mention the
and
years
who these
that this
people
was
are.
spoken. You should have mentioned the years.
The years. Well, Abraham Lincoln, we know, died in the Ford Theater in 1865.
Right, 65. So he was elected 1861.
So these are the founding fathers.
Well, we didn't get the right to vote till 1965.
We got the right to vote in 1870 in the 15th Amendment.
That's an argument we always have. But
It's not an argument. It's in the Constitution. Read it.
well, the Constitution hasn't been followed. All
Well, that's-
right?
right,
So
okay.
that's,
But
that's
that is the federal
null and
law.
void. I said we got rights to vote in 1965.
1870.
I don't want to go way back there. I want to go back to 1965.
You don't want to go back to anything which is the foundation of everything.
How about the foundation?
And if you study the law and study your
Well, why are we going
Constitution, you could ask these people, why are
Graham.
you
Well,
going
the
back
real
repeating
issue
the
is
same thing over and
The
over?
Constitution being written or not was never written with the intent of our freedom or our ability to
There you
move
go.
upon the society that we are now living in as human beings. Cattle, yes. Dogs,
Yeah.
cats, animals. But to be a human
15
in
was
America,
to the Negro.
Right. But to know that it's such a dichotomous reality, because let's look at the reality. These folks went to a place to bring us so that we could work for them land that they could not yield on because of their inadequate skills to respect Mother Nature. Now, mind you, they found natives here who could.
Who could?
But not only did they kill them off, they murder them off and then put them away and then disease them away.
Right.
And realize at the end of the day, we still can't get this land to do what we needed to do. So let's go get some people of the land. African people are of the land. Our continent is large enough for America to fit in 5 times. So if we are land people, you know we're people, you bring us here, and then decide that we're not allowed to be human, which is why I love Malcolm, because he stood on human rights. Because you're asking me to be civil in my rights. I'm not even allowed to be human. And isn't humanity a civil group? To be civil is to say, I will organize a way to govern you. To be human is because God governs me. And that's where the real argument is.
There you
These
go.
men of such valor did not accept that there was a God over them, a God conscience that said, you're not right if you're wrong, and I created you. Who
Right.
gave you the right to say that something is inadequate by its skin color? Who gave you that? And mind you, these people that we're talking about are 10,000 years on Earth. We have fossils that are 3 million years old
Right.
of human beings. So all of the stories are getting to the head. See, what's boiling the white supremacists over isn't Trump. It's our ability to be moving about the country as millionaires and billionaires now. There's one born every few minutes, not that hits the lottery, but gets an investment that makes sense. And that concerns them. They're not trying to get rid of babies in Texas and Kentucky and all of these Roe versus Wade. I don't really want to bring all that in, but I want to make sure it's clear. They're trying to stop Sarah and Becky from aborting white children.
Right.
Period. And okay, because they're looking at the browning of America is going to mean that I'm not here. But let's do something deeper. In 1999, we found out that the white male semen was not secure enough to make but a single child. God
Is that
puts,
right?
this is a study that was done in 1999, and I know so because I was studying at that time out of medical journals to get my degrees, and I remember seeing that and saying, the white male cannot produce himself but for one child, which meant that they were becoming impotent. But
So you
also,
feel that this is the abortion law?
This is where it's coming from. This is if white males are having problems reproducing themselves, then we are going to have an America by 2045, 2050 that actually might not be,
Well,
you know, and let's be clear, they're in the majority, but may not be a majority very soon.
Well,
Hence, close the border on Mexico and Cuba and any place else. But let's see what the Eastern Europeans want to do with their refugees, because we're going to bring them on over and continue to try to keep this country, in its essence, a supremacist country.
so it's a matter of survival for them.
Yeah, and that's exactly.
And then we will not be replaced.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so the manifest destiny of the white supremacist is, by any means necessary, let us survive. Malcolm's identity was, by any means necessary, let us be free. If we're 15% of the population now, we're saying blacks are. And now we have Latinx to add to that. And now the Asians are jumping on the band. I just got off of a bus that said that there is, and I know you know this, Graham, there is a special hotline for you to call if you feel that you are being discriminated against or biasly treated. It's called the Asian Hotline. I was trying to figure out, where was the black hotline for racist bias practices for the decades that I've been on the planet? I said, Asians are being attacked. We have a hotline to call. I don't have a hotline if I'm being attacked.
Well, we've been attacked for the last 4 years.
And we've been being attacked all our lives. So I thought about that and said, you know, we get on these are all political moves, right? Somebody's doing that to make sure that they can get a vote. But at the end of the day, our 15%, which is the largest second group of individuals in America who built America, is being dishonored and disrespected by individuals who consider that we are not supposed to have the masses of wealth and comfort that we're living in. Well, I have something else to say to them. Again, it's a human right issue, and you didn't make me human.
Right.
And you can't take me away from who and what God has created.
All right, let's, one more roll in, number 2.
There's another one?
Yeah, there's another one. Well, I want you to watch this one.
I'm already having a heart attack.
These are the young people that are, you know, being brainwashed.
God help us all.
Item 2. This is interesting.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. This is Pro Exclusive Media, and we have another horrible story to cover, okay? A young kid by the name of Peyton Gentry, 18 years young, took his parents' car and drove it over 200 miles. Yes, 200 miles to go to a predominantly black grocery store and kill people, and he succeeded. He killed 10 people and injured 3. So in total, he fired rounds and it hit 13 people, 11 which were black and 2 which were, I'm sure, maybe white or another race. But at the end of the day, we know that this mass murder was racially motivated. And what makes matters even worse is this young kid had the nerve to stream it live on Twitch. Now, we don't have access to the footage. I don't think anybody will have access to the footage anytime soon, but this kid definitely live streamed it on Twitch, which is very sad because it shows that he thinks that this is a game. This was a game, right? And what people don't know is that this attack was a revenge attack. He was trying to get revenge for what happened in 2021, November 21st. You guys remember Daryl Brooks, right? The rapper by the name of Mav Boy Fly, who took his SUV and drove it directly into a crowd of people during the holidays, killing a bunch of people, injuring a bunch of people. This was a black man who drove his SUV into a crowd of white people. Now fast forward to 2022, the month of May, we have a fella by the name of Peyton Gentry, who walks into a grocery store with the name of the victim on his rifle, along with the N-word and along with "here's your reparations." The name of the victim that was on his gun is Virginia Sorensen. Now, she's a white lady that died in the parade due to Daryl driving his car through a crowd of people. And so this is very sad, the fact that innocent people are dying because of these racially motivated crimes. And we all know Daryl did what he did because of the verdict of Kyle Rittenhouse. And so this whole thing is a mess. You know, I don't know if this kid was at home thinking about this, you know, incident over and over and over again and just decided, hey, look, today is the day I'm gonna do it. You know, he just finally worked up the courage to do it. But you know, this is very sad. 18 years old, driving 200 miles. You don't even live in this area, dude, and you're driving over here to go kill some black people. Same thing with Daryl Brooks. I believe he lived in the area, but why are you driving over there to go kill some white people, man? That's not the way to go. That's not the way to go. Now, innocent people are losing their lives because people like these two think that it's okay to take matters into their own hands and go out and kill people for some sort of justice that they think that they're getting for the community. I wasn't happy that he took his car and drove his car into a crowd of white people. And I'm not happy, and it bet not be no white people happy that this white boy took his car, drove it 200 miles to a grocery store, got out with his AR or whatever type of gun he had, and start shooting in the parking lot, and then walked into the grocery store and start shooting people up as well. Black people at that. These are two racially motivated cases, and one got revenge for another. This is sad. This is sad. So I need y'all to get in that comment section. Let me know what you think. When more information comes out about this case, I'll try to follow it to the best of my abilities, but at the moment, no one really has any good information, so I just wanted to put my 2 cents on it right now, and that's it. Catch you guys later. Peace out.
But go to Roland. Comments? That's a heavy. Now, this is just somebody's website. You know, just an observer, another youth, bringing up this. I didn't even hear about this.
I didn't hear about that. We were thinking about Charlottesville, the guy that ran the people over in Charlottesville.
Right, when Trump was elected, almost simultaneously, they were pulling down the statues that represent racist.
Yeah, well, that was a white.
Yeah, that was in Charlotte.
Yeah, we're talking about a black rapper.
A black rapper actually
ran into a crowd of people
deliberately
and killed a woman that this kid heard about, and he carved her name on this.
And said, "These are your reparations, payback." You know.
So this is this guy's beef?
There's more going on than that one
Just
incident, I'm sure.
It's got to be more.
Well, we just know that James, what's his name, went into
Frank
the subway.
James.
Frank James just went down the subway.
Oh,
He's from Wisconsin. He goes to Philadelphia, rents a car, comes here to make sure that Adams knows he exists, and decides to go into a subway and shoot people.
But he shoots people in the lower extremities.
Well, he had no intention of killing
anybody.
Yeah, he didn't
No
intend
intention
to kill.
of killing anybody.
But he wanted to make
And
some
he
kind
gave
of a
himself
statement.
up.
And
Right.
he turned himself
Turned
in.
himself in.
Okay.
Which is really interesting
And
story about the NYPD and its 37,000 officers.
Couldn't find
a guy
anywhere.
standing on a corner saying, I'm the guy.
But, you know, then the U.S. attorney jumps up. Oh, I'm charging him with terror, acts of terror, federal indictment, blah, blah, blah. White boy killed 10 people.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything from the U.S. attorney's office.
Yeah, not yet.
You know.
Give it a minute.
No, but the U.S. attorney was quick. He was on it like a maggot on a piece of meat with Frank James. And it's obvious also, Frank James was in a psychiatric center not long ago. All right? The white boy who had lodged threats, threatened to kill classmates and everything.
And they had an FBI file on him.
Still went out and got a gun.
Did he have FBI?
They had
file?
an FBI file because it was brought to the attention of the FBI.
Yeah.
So they actually said he was on alert but they let him buy guns. I don't. So this is why I'm saying
What about his parents? What do people
Good
know about his
question.
parents?
we haven't heard from any of them, have we?
We
They're
don't
not
know.
even in the media.
We don't know what
I
they're
read
about.
something. I forgot what it was.
But
I
yet,
meant
did
to-
you hear the clip? In the first clip, they were saying something about some emotional thing
that
with COVID and all
Yeah,
that.
they're saying he
COVID
has
defense.
a COVID
They will come up with
disability
any cock and bull
that
story.
gives him the
Well, no,
right to be.
COVID's driven a lot of people crazy.
Yeah, but don't
he,
give him that.
remember, they just no, because
But we see what his
the
reasoning
journalist
was.
said
Yeah.
his history was 3 years ago. COVID is 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
That he had already
Oh, yeah.
started
Yeah,
putting
well, they're
things
making
on the
up reasons.
internet
Right.
Yeah.
that was saying what I'm going to do. See, the younger that they are, because they're so young,
Yeah.
I'm convinced that they have adults that are leading this charge.
And you got
they're
the internet
using
with
these
all
kids
sorts of-
almost like weapons.
What's his name? The guy that drove with his mother across across the state line.
Oh, God, yeah.
Rittenhouse.
Yeah, the guy that got beat the
Kyle
charges,
Rittenhouse.
beat the case.
That's right.
And you have
I forgot about
sickos
that.
in
Well,
the
this is
Congress that
why-
want him to be an intern.
This is why this
That's right.
rapper ran into the crowd, because of the Rittenhouse verdict. After hearing that, he decided to run his car into the crowd of white people
Well, he's as sick
and
as the
kill
rest
this.
of them.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I'm
he's
saying.
not even sick. This is just evil.
Yes.
Yeah, an eye
Which
for
is
an
a-
eye or a
which is a
tooth for a
disease.
tooth is just going to leave you toothless and eyeless at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? So everybody that's getting caught up in how can I retaliate, I have been combating calls from individuals who are very rational saying it's time for me to buy my first real assault weapon. And my question is, who are you going to
These
kill?
are black people.
Yeah, they're black people. So my question really is, who do you plan on shooting when you get this? Well, I think I need it for protection from who?
You can't ride around, at
This
least
is
not
what-
in this state. You can't ride around
Well,
with an
this is
assault
what-
weapon to
With any
protect
gun.
yourself with.
But this is what the white supremacists want.
Right. They want
I
open
agree.
carry. They want to be able to travel interstate. They want to do this. This is a bill they're trying to get through under the illusion of the Second Amendment that we have the right to carry a gun anywhere in the country. Right?
But when we did it in the 1960s, it became a problem.
Are you
right?
talking about the Black Panthers? Are you talking about the Black Panthers?
The baddest boys in town, right? Were not allowed. At some point, they COINTELPRO'd the operation to shut them down because they had the right to bear arms. You know, which was Huey Newton's entire argument.
And they were shooting
Does that
no
make
one.
any sense to walk up to the State House with a bunch of guns and you black?
It doesn't. No, it doesn't make any sense. But
In
look what.
1967?
Well, look what just happened in 2020 when
The governor of Wisconsin.
of Michigan.
Michigan,
That was
yeah.
Michigan, Detroit, Michigan,
Those are
couldn't
white
get in
people.
her office.
And they
Those are
went to
white
kill her.
people.
Absolutely, in a
Well,
very, very white
Black
state.
people aren't allowed to bring
We're
weapons into the
actually,
State
it's
House.
getting to the point where we're not allowed to sit in our cars
Well,
and
no.
have
No.
a Coke. It's just getting to a place where now, more than ever, and
But
I'll say.
California at the time was it was more liberal than anywhere else.
It may be liberal, but we're losing our mind.
Why
Rodney
not?
King was in California.
Rodney King was the first time in my life as a young adult where I was angry at whiteness, because I never had to be angry at whiteness because I never felt they were privileged, because if they were, I was. But when Rodney King was assaulted in that manner, I think it was my first time being angry at individuals who were supposed to protect me, because I then didn't have faith. I didn't know. I said, I drive my car, I get pulled over, am I safe from the guy who says I need to see your license? Or is he, so that was my first question. And then this is what they say down in the deep homes of those of us who still pray. You had better leave your house with God. Those people went to the grocery store and didn't come home that night. And it just reminds you that that life is precious and should be lived with a full intent daily, because we are all subjected to this horror that's out here. This kid who had tactical gear, so that the gentleman who risked his life, who was a security guard and also had been in the military, who shot at him, shot a bullet at him, and he had a bulletproof vest. I mean, they're now planning to not only not to kill you, but to protect themselves from being killed by you, which means that they're more than just a weapon. They're a grenade. They're going to blow up a bunch of things.
But what's even worse about that, when the cops finally cornered him, he had a gun up against his neck. And the cops talked him out of
blowing his own head off. That's right. Which is very unusual, too. Like,
now,
normally...
everybody's saying now if he's a black man, he'd be dead.
Oh, no, they would have shot him.
They would have shot him.
They would have shot him in the head and knew exactly how to get it in. They would have had a sharpshooter come between the eyes.
So this is what we're up against.
Yeah,
Now,
for sure.
I was always taught, don't run from the cops. Now, here's an ex-police officer.
Run, right?
I only had one get away from me, just one. He had a blockhead start. He got away.
No, you would have shot somebody running from you that you suspected. No, you
don't shoot somebody running from you unless they pose the threat of using deadly physical force against another or yourself.
That's your training.
You don't shoot somebody because they're running away. If the guy is running and just shooting at people as he's running, I'm going to take him down.
Okay.
We had a scenario, true case. We had a guy called the Regal Bandit. He would get on the train up at 125th Street on the IRT and take it over into the Bronx. And he carried a gun in a Regal shoebox. So he was the Regal Bandit. This is 1978, exactly. He would only rob the white people in the last car of the train. That was his MO. He had done a number of robberies, and on his last one, he put a .357 Magnum to the head of a baby that a white woman was holding on the train. And he said, I want all you white people to get that money up and get over here. Bring your rings, your jewelry, watches, everything, put it in the bag. And he had the gun cocked at the baby's head.
This is a black man?
Yeah. So my team was called in to get this guy. We had a team. It was called the Black Hispanic Squad. No white guys in this team. We went wherever the crime was, and we brought it down. So the deal was, take the back shot. The back shot, whoever this guy has his back to is the guy that takes him out. That's it.
That's how it's, oh my God.
That's it.
Okay.
As soon as he pulls that gun, whoever he's got his back to, I'm at one end of the car, my partner's at the other, back shot. You're out. I worked in decoy units. Someone thinks they're gonna rob. We were on a train in the Bronx. The guy looks at the decoy, opens his jacket, he's got an automatic in his waistband. The decoy is not moving, he's just there. So I call off, I was the team leader, I call off the decoy. So everybody knows we're not playing now, all right? The setup is no longer a setup. I give the signal for a gun, and everybody draws at the same time. And he had 6 guns aimed at him. That's it.
Did you have to kill him?
No, we didn't fire a shot. Well, we took him.
Well, you were taking him alive. Okay.
But the thing is, you only kill when the threat of death is imminent. And I've had people with guns. I've locked up a 12-year-old kid with 2 .38s on him. I had a kid trying to draw on the ground, trying to draw on me after a robbery, and he had a pellet gun. I had my gun cocked and ready to go, and he said, no, please, don't shoot me, don't shoot me.
He thought it was a game.
And I got down on him, I took the gun. It was a pellet gun.
But, you know, the 12-year-olds are shooting each other. The 13-year-olds are shooting each other. I mean, every day that I went away.
There's a little girl that got shot yesterday.
You know,
Our people are killing babies.
So there is obviously an epidemic of hysteria, and people are saying mental illness. But see, again, here's my story, my reality. We've got to stop the manufacturing plants guns and the sale of them. Guns don't shoot people without a hand on them. And we are, you know, we're looking at, it's almost as though when Adams got elected, everybody decided, let's just go for murder. But we're talking about 13-year-olds. You know, the psyche of a 13-year-old is usually, I'm going through puberty, girls are now cute, or, you know, boys are now cute. And the focus is, I hope I can get a girlfriend, or do I go to the after-school dance? It's, yo, what gang do you belong to? Or did you speak to my girl? Or what did you say in the class when I raised my hand? And now I go and I shoot you? Not that I'm gonna punch you, we're gonna fight it out after school. And we haven't been taking a look at this enough. And we need to take a look at it enough. We have to start looking at this to say, when did we get to a place where our babies want to kill each other and themselves? And Bronx, Brooklyn, Harlem, it doesn't matter. It's happening too much in our community. It's time for what we call community control. Because if there's no parents at home, then we've got to stand in and be parents. We've got to be alert. I mean, I get out every day, regardless of the pandemic, to kind of take the temperature of what's going on with our kids. Their kids walking to school by themselves. They're now 9. What is really happening to that child? You know, is that child comfortable? Is this child, did it get food in the morning? Did it get a sandwich to go to school with? Whatever that is, we're just neglectful of our wonderful, important duty of village community. Yeah. Because we could catch a kid at 13 with a whisper, but I think that Brian's got a gun. I'm not sure, but somebody's talking about it. And then stop it and say, you know what? Get to his house and say, let me just ask you, does he have a gun? Because the kids are talking about him owning guns. We used to do these things, knock on a door or just follow a kid to see where he's going. I mean, we're now going and closing our doors and locking our doors and saying they're out there, the savages. What savages? They're our kids. And we're not getting involved. And we're asking for more police to do that job, and some of them aren't right. As you know, as a psychologist, I look at that stuff and say to myself, these cops are not all right. Some of them are in the game to wear a weapon and take control and be powerful. So we have got to do what we did through the 60s, the 50s, and the 40s, when it was a very separatist, right? We lived in a separatist country, and we took care of our own.
Welcome home, Sister Kenya.
It's good to be back, Brother Christ.
I was talking to the
We're going to spend a few minutes, our next 15 minutes, dealing with Malcolm.
Please,
his birthday tomorrow.
Yes,
we're going to have to make part
the 97th
birthday. And communicate with our public. This is a family affair, you know.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
My sister is home.
Yes, I'm with my two favorite
and she
brothers.
brings the wisdom of a black woman surviving in today's trauma. Whoa, whoa. And we don't talk about the traumas you've been going through the last 2 years. Yeah. And you don't even know about the stroke I had, right?
Oh my gosh!
I had a stroke.
And you look like this?
Yeah,
well, there is God.
The 26th of May last year. I'm coming up on a year.
And no paralysis, nothing. You're incredible.
I still have a problem with my
certain
speech
words?
every now and then. Yeah.
Okay, that's to be expected.
I'm taking ginkgo, and it made my head feel better.
Okay. I bet you did. You probably liked it. You probably said, this reminds me of the 1960s when I was coming out of the Marines.
Hemp oil, whatever, you know.
Whatever that is that makes you happy.
Yeah.
But I think you look incredible. But again, you see, the magnificence of that is that there is God and there is miracle.
Well,
Remember
I got a lady in the back that saved my life.
And God bless her, as always. A woman stepping in will always keep you here longer than you intended.
I'm a survivor because I have an angel in the back.
You do. You have an angel with you constantly. But she's the best on earth, right?
Yes.
Yay, Bev.
Yay, Bev. But, you know, that's an incredible story. But I just, you know, I know you all saw the miracle. I think it popped in my phone this week, as you know, I don't have a television, but of the little girl who was shot in the Bronx in the head. And she actually is living and surviving and thriving as though it never happened. But so, and this is what I'm really getting to spiritually, which is why I like to talk about, let's not leave God out of all equations.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get back to being the fearless, God-conscious people that we always were.
Amen.
It's not like guns were not here before. And in fact, I happen to know for a fact that they were easier. Everybody had a shotgun because people went hunting. I mean, in my family, I hate to say it, my relatives still have guns, right?
Yeah.
They have a gun, they don't have an AK-47, you know. But getting a gun in many states was easy, and people kept it in their house or in their car. In case they were out driving at night and they got on some dirt road and they saw some bear or whatever the case may be. But we were very much about the idea of human life being sacred and being precious. But what a 13-year-old is saying, I have a beef with Charles, I think I'll shoot him. We are just not doing our jobs. You know, we're missing something. Or suicide rates.
It's the video games.
Yeah, they're all violent, and our kids live on, can they do this? Can they get the bad guys? But now we don't even know who the bad guys are.
It's the internet.
It is the internet. It is the fact that our children are doing too many things without supervision.
And the COVID had us shut in, and I personally was going through a renovation at my complex. And we were stuck
literally
and with
stuck.
COVID. And then I had a stroke in the middle of COVID.
In the house, or were you trying to come out of the house?
Lucky I was in the house.
So that you could get it caught. And you spent time in the hospital.
I had a stroke. I hit my head on something on the floor or wherever it was. I had a brain bleed.
Oh, which is the worst kind. Because blood on the brain doesn't
and
dissipate
Bev looked at me
easily.
and thought I was dead.
You are your own miracle.
She slapped him and said, you better wake up.
I bet she did. But you know, that's your mother coming to you once again. And you know, we talked about your mom, and we just got through Mother's Day. Once again, that angel on the other side saying, it's not your time, don't be in a hurry.
So I was taught a lesson.
But look, I mean, you look like, I'm listening to the story, I'm saying, is this like this candy camera? Because, I mean, that's kind of in
26th of May.
Still
last year.
happen every
And it only
of
makes
May.
your faith even stronger, because you're still here, but not just still here. You've defied all the doctors and all the things I'm sure you heard them say you won't do. I'm sure you had the doubt, but the doctors probably said you'll never do this and you won't be that.
Oh, they kept on. I was having conniptions. I mean, I was feeling worse. They said, well, you look good. I got tired of hearing it. I mean, that was the worst experience I've had in my life.
But you know, you got to talk to yourself. I know when I was in the hospital some years ago, what the mind can conceive, you can achieve.
Absolutely.
And you have to talk to your body.
Absolutely.
You have to bring your body under subjection to your mind and your will.
It's all in the mind.
And that's part of healing. You can't be overcome. Yeah, you get the news of this, and it's like, whoa. But it's like, wait a minute. This is about survival.
That's right.
And I now have to arrest this thing in me. I have to talk to every DNA, every synapse, every nerve, and everything in my every sinew. You have to speak to yourself.
And get
the Bible
yourself
says,
back.
lay hands on yourself.
That's right.
Don't wait for someone to come.
You, right.
Lay hands on yourself. Little children. A school psychologist was talking to me a few years ago, and she said, we have children now with hypertension. In the first and second grade.
Can you imagine?
I said, it's the guns. She said, yeah. They're afraid. They want to come to school. School is sanctuary, but it's the fear of making it from home to school, from school home. That's the thing that stresses the children out. And these guys with the guns don't realize the stress that they're putting on these little children.
I'm traumatized every time I hear a 13-year-old shot a 14-year-old. It takes me a moment, like, I'm leaving and I gotta go, I can't go right now. I just have to take a moment. Like, I have to figure out how to get that out of my head and then function. And that's what we're becoming, a society that sees horrific things and trauma and shootings on trains, and we have to get on a bus. And after a while, what happens is you become desensitized.
See, this is,
get to a desensitized zone.
This is all a plan.
It is a plan to stop.
Because we've been degrading ourselves with the music and the trauma of the situation of COVID and everything else and racism and white supremacy. they're doing a number on us.
And we need to
And-
get back to the root. We got to go back
Well,
to the
we gotta
root of what
listen
the
to Malcolm.
community means
What
and how
Malcolm
we,
did.
as God's great keeper of the faith, protected ourselves so that we could survive slavery, Jim Crow, get all the way in the White House for 8 years, and make a stand. And I think that's where we're seeing the white supremacist head increased after Obama's second run. It became evident that, and that's what I'm saying, you know, they're looking at all of these athletic individuals making millions of dollars and getting contracts beyond contracts for $175 million. That's just for 2 years and so on. So we're creating millionaires every 10 days. And with the funding, you get a LeBron James, and I love speaking about him, but who goes back to a community and makes a really big difference in the lives
Yeah.
of children
Absolutely.
Yeah.
who now will grow up in a better circumstance.
Yeah.
You know, or individuals who are buying homes for individuals who've only lived in the projects and now they're 3 generations there, but now they have a home. And the home is going to be a place where they can start to thrive and to believe again. So
Yeah.
we have these earth angels doing the
Yeah.
work. But we need the community again, because 1 or 2 people that say, well, you know, I care and I'm not going to give up. And if it's my right to get to die, I want to die, as Malcolm would always say. You need to be able to live for something and be willing to die for what it is that you live for, and not get caught up in fear. Fear is the factor that is killing us. It's when our children get, Mommy, don't go in the store. It's a supermarket. You could get killed.
Yeah.
That is fear, and that is
Yeah.
it's necessary for that parent to say, well, sweetheart, we're going to get our groceries because we have to eat. To be
Yeah.
able to say, you're going to have to get through this, and then monitor that so that that child is comforted in knowing that you don't let anybody stop you from believing that you're going to be okay. There isn't a city now you can go to say you're safer.
No.
I think they were trying to do something recently on one of these stations on where's the safe city. I said, what are they talking about? Where are there no children without guns? I'm trying to
Right.
figure that out. Is there a state that has no guns in the household? There isn't. Children can get guns because parents have them at home.
Yeah.
And now children at 18 can order their own.
I took some friends to a gun shop.
We have
I bet you did.
We have
I'm gonna tell you that
one
later.
item 3. I just want to get a little bit of Malcolm in here.
Please, let's get a
this
lot of
is-
Malcolm. Tomorrow
this is
his
how I saw
97th
Malcolm.
birthday.
This is Gil Noble, and in the old days.
I love Gil.
And-
Gil's approach to
and-
Malcolm. He
and
loved
he
Malcolm.
speaks of how I felt about Malcolm.
Okay.
Play item 3 for us.
First inoculation was Dr. King. And then that led me to Adam Powell and a lot of the people. But I was put off by Malcolm X.
Why?
Because what he was saying and the way he was saying it was too blunt. It was dangerous. And you didn't say those things in those days. I told you, we had been socialized as kids to get around wrong, not to confront it. And Malcolm spoke in very declarative terms, and he said some terrible things about white people that we thought, but you would never express it, you see. He talked about the way this country was not a democracy, but a hypocrisy, and he talked about what had been happening to us down south and up south, and he was not shy. He had and he was very, very intimidating. I'm man enough to admit it. There are a lot of people who are my age who will speak, you know, with love about Malcolm as though it had always been that way. But that's not so. He scared a lot of us to death. And then, mind you, I had this apartment, a bachelor apartment on Convent Avenue, and I'd been having a lot of fun, you know. And here he comes talking about a different way of life. First of all, he dropped his last name. Well, we had been socialized to take great pride in our last name. The more European it sounded, the better. There was not a flinch about, you know, noble, oh, that's wonderful. If it wasn't French enough, you'd put an ETT on it, you know, to make it sound more French. And so here's a man who dropped his good last name and replaced it with an X. I thought the man was crazy. And then he talked about discipline. And he talked
self-discipline.
Self-discipline. He said that we do not believe in drinking. And at the time I would have a taste. And he said that we don't smoke cigarettes with or without a label on them. And I would smoke, you know, with a label.
Yes.
And he said, we don't eat pork. Well, you know, I love me some ribs. And then he said, we don't fornicate.
Yes.
And so psychologically, I said, Malcolm, I'll see you later.
Yes.
You know, and all. But what he was doing in deprecating whiteness, I came to understand later that he was rearranging the balance that we needed, because we had glorified whiteness and deprecated blackness. And so he was tilting, using exaggerated term, to give us a sense of self and to take whites down a little as they needed to be. And the discipline that he was talking about were things that we really needed to address. But I couldn't swallow that at the time. So jumping forward in time, a lot of things happened in the struggle, and Malcolm was struck down in '65, and I never went to hear him speak. My only impression of Malcolm was on the sound bites on the evening news. And if there was a rally in Harlem, where I'm living now, I'm living in Harlem, and he would have a rally 10 blocks away, I would...
We only have a minute left, so I just played that that was my temperament at the time. You know, when Malcolm died, I was 24. I had been in the Marine Corps, and I'd been around to different parts of the world, and I saw the world differently. And he was the white man was the devil, and I'd been in the Corps for 4 years fighting the devil. I mean,
Fighting the devil's war.
But I was a Marine, so I was loyal to the government. I mean, you know, I was a Marine. I mean, that was something, that was an accomplishment.
Deeply.
You know, I had fought the war
You sure
against
did.
racism.
Right.
And this is, I got out of the Corps in '64, and I was still thinking like Noble spoke about, and talking about not drinking. You know, to be a Marine, you got to be able to drink.
Oh,
And
right.
I drink and fought.
That's right. That's
And
right.
and ribs. I mean, and no girls. I mean, that was crazy. And the religion was the worst of it all.
And
I was born and raised in power to the people. The God in me loves the God in you, and stay tuned for more. We will return next week with more about Malcolm and what's happening in the world, in the planet. God be with you. They have a minute more for the Bronx.
It'll be wonderful next week because you'll have that piece on the dead are rising.
Okay.
And then you'll understand that that's actually a term that was in the nation. Is that we're dead, and then when we come to Elijah, we rise.
Okay.
And so when Payne was doing the interviews, he realized that the dead are rising means that you go from a dead state of being a man to a risen state of being a man of God. It's an incredible reality.
Okay. Oh,
so we can
well
really
said.
talk about that.
Okay. We'll see if we get Leroy on Skype.
Oh, that would be great. And I say that because tomorrow they're going to go up to the pilgrimage, and there'll be a lot of conversation. And of course, I have students going and so on. And so
You
forth.
going?
I've been there 5 times. I'm like, I doubt I'm going, but I'm going to make sure they get on the buses and that they have lunches and that they're able to go up. And that you know, we're going to be giving out water and food.
How far variety?
To they just go up to to Westchester County.
Power with you.
Okay.
God be with you.